Hello, everyone, and welcome to the program Business Point on Global Television. I am Samuel Odi. Many thanks for joining. On today's edition, we'll be looking at budgeting and then mastering personal and business financial planning in Nigeria. You might be wondering why we are looking at this subject. A dollar to naira is being exchanged for 1,670 naira. We've seen a whole lot of SMEs have challenges, getting into business before you know it, given the fact that our inflation rate is high and the borrowing power has been curbed by the CBN governor. Now it's very, very hard for people to even borrow and want to start business. And a few persons that are in business are finding it hard to continue business because of the current inflation rates, the tax regulation, and a whole lot happening in the business scene. So we'll be looking at these angles where we'll be able to master personal and business financial planning so as to scale through in this dire time, looking at the current exchange rate where a dollar is exchanged for 1,670 naira. Now, how do you manage, or how do you get to advance your business and grow it? You need serious planning. You need to have the psychology of money to be able to scale through in this dire economic situation that we found ourselves in. So on that note, I'll be introducing the guests who will be joining me virtually all the way from Abia State, Umuahia to be precise, who would help us understand all of these angles and then the challenges, and then create avenues for business owners and personal individuals as well to be able to save and as well have purchasing power, and then not being able to break their banks while doing all of that. So we'll be exploring all of these conversations. We'll be checking out financial planning, business strategies, and all of that in this dire economic situation. But before we get into the conversation, we'll be going on a quick break, and then when we return back, I'll be introducing my guest as he helps us x-ray all of these angles of today's conversation. Please do stay with us. We'll be right back. Business Point on Global Television.
The business world can be dynamic and unpredictable, with headwinds and volatility sometimes becoming an obstacle for players in the business and economy landscape. Watch Business Point on Global Television as Samuel Odi walks you through the twists, turns and curves in bonds, stocks and crucial market indices from a global standpoint. Watch Business Point weekdays on Global Television at 11 a.m. West African time. Business Point. This is business.
Business Point on Global Television.
The business world can be dynamic and unpredictable, with headwinds and volatility sometimes becoming an obstacle for players in the business and economy landscape. Watch Business Point on Global Television as Samuel Odi walks you through the twists, turns and curves in bands, stocks and crucial market indices from a global standpoint. Watch Business Point weekdays on Global Television at 11 a.m. West African time. Business Point, this is business.
Business Point on Global Television.
The business world can be dynamic and unpredictable, with headwinds and volatility sometimes becoming an obstacle for players in the business and economy landscape. Watch Business Point on Global Television as Samuel Odi walks you through the twists, turns and curves in bands, stocks and crucial market indices from a global standpoint. Watch Business Point weekdays on Global Television at 11 a.m. West African time. Business Point.
All right, many thanks for staying with us. Now I have my guest who is joining me all the way from Abia State's Umwa here, to be precise, Mr. Chidike Edmond. Good morning. Thank you for joining on Business Point today. Can you hear me? If you can hear me, thank you so much for joining us. And we are looking at our mastering plan for business financial planning in Nigeria. That's personal and business financial plan in Nigeria. So looking at the current exchange rate, a dollar is being exchanged for 1,670 naira. So now with this dire economy and then the inflation we're suffering in the country at large, how can one budget and plan, so as not to, break the bank in terms of financial expenditure, and as well as for SMEs who are trying to, start up? How do they go ahead planning with this current inflation rates that we're facing? We're seeming to have a bit of network challenge, which is actually being resolved as we speak. But we'll be going on a quick break, and then when we come back, we'll continue having this conversation. Business Point on Global Television.
The business world can be dynamic and unpredictable, with headwinds and volatility sometimes becoming an obstacle for players in the business and economy landscape. Watch Business Point on Global Television as Samuel Odi walks you through the twists, turns and curves in bands, stocks and crucial market indices from a global standpoint. Watch Business Point weekdays on Global Television at 11 a.m. West African time. Business Point, this is business.
Business Point on Global Television.
The business world can be dynamic and unpredictable, with headwinds and volatility sometimes becoming an obstacle for players in the business and economy landscape. Watch Business Point on Global Television as Samuel Odi walks you through the twists, turns and curves in bands, stocks and crucial market indices from a global standpoint. Watch Business Point weekdays on Global Television at 11 a.m. West African time. Business Point, this is business.
Business Point on Global Television.
The business world can be dynamic.
We sincerely apologize for a bit of that break in transmission, but everything is sorted now, and we're about to dive into the conversation of how SMEs and individuals will be able to plan at this dire time. So, Mr. Chidi K. Edmond, can you hear me? Yes. Okay. Thank you very much for joining on Business Point this morning. So let's get into the conversation. A dollar is exchanged for 1,670 naira. Some businesses are closing up due to high inflation
Hello.
rates. So at this dire time, how key is it going to be and how efficient is it going to be for individuals and business owners to be able to plan properly?
Okay, thanks for the question. And once again, I'm always very excited to be a part of um, a conversation relating to financial and budget. Aliko Dangote said that most dangerous thing for any entrepreneur, I will paraphrase and say for any individual for businessman to do is to not understand the financials of them. With volatile economy, it's not a fact. We can see the dollar rate keep going up. This morning we can see the dollar is 5, and in the afternoon we see it 175. So it's essential for every entrepreneur to understand first budgeting. Budgeting simply in a shell tells you.
I think we're still having a bit of those network challenges, glitches all over the place, and we're still sincerely working on it, and then we hope it gets resolved from the end of our guests. But talking about planning and budgeting right now, it's actually dire and it's very, very key for everyone to be able to have of financial knowledge, that's having a psychology of money, looking at the current inflation rate and then the current exchange rate that we're actually witnessing in the market at this point. One, looking at the fact that a few SMEs are beginning to like wrap up. Why? Because the current inflation rate is affecting the business, cost of living, tariff hike, and all of that. And now the Central Bank of Nigeria introducing new monetary policies, which is actually not flexible. That means tightening the monetary policies, which they said is going to help curb out inflation and then reduce borrowing power and then reduce the amount of money we have in circulation. A whole lot of analysts have argued that we don't even have money in circulation, not alone, you know, cutting down the little that we have. So a lot of persons have argued that is a wrong move by the CBN governor, Mr. Cardoso, to be able to, for him rather, to introduce that initiative at this point. But he says the administration of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu is working on a long-term goal to be able to achieve a long-term result, not just having a short-time ease where at the end of the day Nigerians will still suffer, the economy will still suffer and then go down. So looking at all of these angles now, budgeting and planning has a very, very key role to play for individuals, not just individuals, but entrepreneurs and little SMEs. Big companies are also big players, rather, like we call it in the business world, are actually planning, and some persons are taking drastic decisions so as to be able not to go bankrupt. So as individuals, how do you intend to do that? How do you intend to, you know, plan properly so as not to get bankrupt? Now it's depends on you on cutting what is not necessary and focusing more on what is necessary. Looking at business-wise now, obviously everybody is getting into business to make profit. So if you want to do that, we have basic needs, basic business amenities that we need to put in place. When you have all of those things in place, you have the products in place that you need to sell. Having all of those things now, you need a plan. you have to have a plan, a 5, 10, 15-year plan on how to run that business with the little money you have. So having your capital now and strategically planning properly would help the business blossom and then grow. But before, we continue this conversation, I'll be going on a quick break again to find out if our guest is ready to dive into the conversation with us. Business Point on Global Television.
The business world can be dynamic and unpredictable, with headwinds and volatility sometimes becoming an obstacle for players in the business and economy landscape. Watch Business Point on Global Television as Samuel Odi walks you through the twists, turns and curves in bonds, stocks and crucial market indices from a global standpoint. Watch Business Point weekdays on Global Television at 11 a.m. West African time. Business Point. This is business.
Yes, many thanks for staying, and we sincerely apologize. That's basically one of the challenges, network challenges that we're having around, but it's actually being worked on. So, Mr. Edmond, if you can hear me, can you hear me? Mr. Edmond, if you can hear me. Now, you are making mention about budgeting and planning, and it's important in this current time, looking at the economic challenges that Nigerians are facing.
Sorry, come again with the question. I didn't get the question correct.
I said you were earlier on. You were talking about the current challenges that Nigerians are facing, and then you were making mention of budgeting and planning that needs to be put in place so as not to have oneself to blame when things don't play out properly.
Oh yes. So the first thing is we need to establish is that there is need for any child development.
Yes.
Wealth is due from us, right? So for every Nigerian, we need to follow the economic system. Whatever we do with our money translates to what the business does, because like it or leave it, the business is the individual. Even though we try to separate the business from the individual and say they have life of their own, how well you manage your personal money will translate to how well you manage your organization money. And then I like to define budgeting into a little phrase of how to manage money like the rich. Now, every aim, whether you aim 50,000 or you aim 1 million naira, you should be able to decentralize your money into five major decisions now. You can decide to do more, but one of them is first you need to save, right? You need to have a retirement plan.
Yes.
Savings in itself, money saved is money saved. You don't expect to make profit from money saved, but then it's a good one. So imagine someone who earns a million naira who decides to save, say 20%, that's 200,000. What is he going to do with 200,000? I bet you he's going to buy food, he's going to go clubbing, he's going to party, he's going to try to. But then again, what happens where there is inflation and there is something like COVID and everybody has to sit at home and industry have to lay off staff, businesses have to shut down. You discover that whatsoever you are saving can meet up his lifestyle. And so you divide it into five. One, I mentioned saving. And saving does not really say save 20%. It does not say save 50%. It does not say save 100%. Save first before you spend. How many percent you want to save? That is up to you. Now, this is why, because number two is your necessity, your needs. If you save 100%, right? You earn a million naira, you choose to save a million naira. What are you going to do? Then you are back to the cycle of going back to your saving, breaking the piggy, breaking the save lock. So if you choose to say, I earn a million naira, I live in a house worth 20,000 naira a month. I pay utility bill of 50,000. I pay transport of this. Calculate everything. That is where budgeting comes in now. What are the things that are necessary? How much are you going to spend on feeding? Those are your necessities. Take out that portion and keep it. And then take out a portion for emergency, which is number three now. The emergency fund is where you fall sick, a friend falls sick, your child falls sick, and then you need to take care of that. You are not going to run into your savings and then breaking the lock, run into the bank account, and then empty the bank to pay for something as small as Panadol. You should have a reserve for emergency fund. If you can have, you can be saving for a year.
Yes.
And then nobody falls sick in your house. And then you look at that emergency account and you are seeing 10 million, and then you need to buy a new vehicle. If you go to that fund, the answer is no. Because there is nothing that can lose money like health.
Yes.
When somebody is under emergency needs in the hospital, I bet you 10 million that could not come out for your new vehicle will come out for surgery. But then you had an emergency account that could have been reserved. In the case of Nigeria, we had the excess crude reserve. And then we decided to do what we did to a party, first back.
Okay.
And now,
Mr. Edmond, yes, I know.
we have been deflation and printing money. All right, go ahead.
Yeah, I know you have so much to talk about on this subject matter, but sadly, the little technical issues that network challenges that we had as rendered our hands not to like delve more into this conversation. But this is how much time will permit us to take. But what's your quick advice in 40 seconds? How persons should go ahead to like plan and also make do of what they have?
Okay, my quick word is start small.
Okay.
Start with the low risk option. They have mutual fund. There are technology that you could exploit to help you save. I wouldn't start mentioning it because that will become a promotion.
Yes.
But there are software, there are applications you could download. You can decide to open a pension account, for instance, but start small. Do the small thing to get the big things done. And that's the easy way to go. Ecclesiastes 11:2 says, invest in 7. Yes, it is, because you do not know what disaster might before the land. That is typically a Bible advice that I'll have to give everybody listening. Start small. Regardless of how much you earn, you can save that 1,000. There are investment platforms online, genuine, from the CBN, from the Nigerian Stock Exchange market, where you can invest as low as 10,000 and you can buy treasury bill, you can buy commercial paper, you can buy stocks. So that's my quick advice to the audience.
All right. Thank you so very much, Mr. Chidike Edmond, for your input on today's edition of Business Points.
Thank you very much. I look forward to doing this some other time.
Definitely we will. That's how much time will permit us to take on Business Points, like he rightly mentioned. plan and start small. You have to start small. Like they say, a journey of 1,000 miles begins with a step. My name is Samuel Odi. Thank you so much for tuning in on today's edition of Business Point. I'll see you again tomorrow. Bye for now.